Thanks for tuning in to Maple Leafs Man Advantage. I am Hawkeye, and what we're going to do now, this episode, I'm going to talk about the 1972 playoffs. So I've gone through the regular season and a trade where the Leafs acquired Pierre Jerry, but now we're going to get into the playoffs and see how that worked out in this season. So, indeed, the Leafs made the playoffs again in that number 4 spot, but the playoffs have changed. So now it's top four teams in the East and the top four teams in the West. But the number one seed plays the number four seed, and the two middle teams battle it out. I must say, I definitely prefer that. I grew up with that. It makes more sense that the first seed should actually get the lowest seeded team. So that's what is going to happen now in these playoffs. So Charles in fourth place, and who does that pit them against? Yikes! It's the number one seeded Boston Bruins. They lost the previous season to the Montreal Canadiens in the opening round, who then they went on to win the Stanley Cup in 1971. The Bruins are looking to re-steady the ship, I guess, or get things back in working order, I guess, in the playoffs for them. Okay, so taking a look here at the Leafs first off going in, I've talked about this already, but I'll just try and skim over it again here. But with the Leafs, they have Paul Henderson. He led the team with 38 goals, and then you got Normie Ullman and Ronnie Ellis. They had 23. That's it. Those are your 20 goal scorers. They got three of them. So offense was a bit of a problem for Toronto this year. The defense was good. Um, it may have been very well that they were playing a more defensive style hockey as well. Certainly with Dave Keon in there, he was a fantastic defensive forward as well. But for toughness, they had Rick Lee, Jim Harrison was there still, and Bob Bond on defense. Maybe if they played him as well, you could put Brian Spencer in there. I'm not sure. I don't think they even played him in the playoffs, but he's an option as well. In that, we got Bernie Perron, who had a 915 save percentage, real good. Jacques Plante, who had a 917 save percentage, also real good. So maybe if the Leafs play some great defensive hockey and take advantage of the chances they get, they may have a shot here. Just may, a little may, may have a shot. So we're going to look at the Bruins now. Oh boy, oh boy. We got Phil Esposito, who led the league with 66 goals as well as 133 points. Bobby Orr, defenseman, he had 37 goals and 117 points. Johnny Busick had 32. And then after that, they also had five 20-goal scorers. So you got Mike Walton, Axleaf, he had 28. Derek Sanderson had 25. Fred Stanfield and Wayne Cashman, they both had 23. And John McKenzie had 22. A real spread out offense. Very dangerous. So for the Bruins toughness, you got Dallas Smith on defense. You got John McKenzie, Sanderson, Cashman. And I said it before in another video too. Orr was also not afraid to throw the mitts as well. I've seen him videos of him in a couple of fights, so he wasn't afraid to do that. In that is Jerry Cheevers, who had a nice 920 save percentage, as well as Eddie Johnston. So they still got that great 1-2 punch in Boston. And they both won 27 games in the regular season for the Bruins. So here we go. We're going to look at this series. So game one was played at Boston Garden, of course. They were the number one seed. And the Leafs needed to be ready here. Um, um, Now, do you remember in an earlier video I talked about Phil Esposito scoring hat tricks to start series off with? Seemed he did that the last time these two teams played in the playoffs. He had a hat trick. Well, guess what? He didn't do that. Whew, that's good. But he did score two goals, including the game winner, and added an assist. So he was pretty close. Cheevers grabbed 27 saves for the shutout win, and there you go. The Bruins won it. I believe it was 5-0. Um, but I think it seems like the Leafs might have got spanked there, but I think like halfway through the game, there was still no score. So it wasn't a real pounding, even though the score may think or may lead you to believe that, but it was 5-0 though. But game two, Dave Keon stepped up and scored a goal and an assist. The Leafs won in overtime in Boston Gardens by a 4-3 score. Perrant was also likely a difference maker as he had 37 saves for the win of the 40 shots that he had against him. So the Leafs recovered well and split this series on the road. They're now going home to Maple Leaf Gardens. If they could just take the opening game at home, you never know. They could be in the driver's seat here if they could repeat what they did in game two there and win this upcoming game against an extremely good team in Boston. So in game three, Perron had 33 saves for the Leafs, but Mike Walton, he scored the power play game winner late in the second period. Bruins took it by a 2-0 score. So the Leafs have got 4 goals in only 3 games. So Boston's defense is working very well here. Eddie Johnson had 30 saves for the shutout win. So both goalies in Boston got a shutout win already. Toronto has been playing them well after a bit of a shellacking to start the series at 5-0 um, loss. And the last time they played these guys in the playoffs, it wasn't even close. Boston manhandled the Leafs to sweep them right out of the playoffs. Um, so, game four, the Leafs needed to rebound, and it showed that looked like that is exactly what they were doing. They were up 3-1 going into the third, but Ken Hodge, he scored 2 goals, including the game winner, with less than 4 minutes left in the game, and he also had an assist. The Bruins took game four by a 5-4 score, and they had a stranglehold on the series. Oh, not to mention Boston's going back home now, and they're up 3-1. Oh boy. So for game five, the Leafs stuck with Perrant in net, and he played well. He must have played well. He had 34 saves. But once again, it was Ken Hodge. He potted the game winner as Boston skated away with a 3-2 win. Cheevers had 27 saves for the victory, and the Bruins took the series in 5 games, 4-1. It was a tight series for 4-1. A lot of tight scores in there, but my oh my, the Bruins were the better team. Now, in my opinion, the Leafs should not hang their heads whatsoever. They are, in my opinion, very close to becoming a more successful team in the playoffs. But remember, Harold Ballard is running this team, so um, and they only won 1 game. So I don't know what his response to that was, Mr. Ballard's, but he probably didn't like it. One can assume um, that that would be the case. But as I just said, I look at it and I say the Bruins didn't spank the Leafs around the ice here. Um, and the last time they played in the playoffs, they did. So Toronto's putting out a better team, more competitive team against this high flying Bruins team. They're able to compete with them, it appears. And yeah, the games were much tighter. So keep it up. See what you can do from here. That is exactly what I would say. But for the Leafs, it was Jim McKenney who led the team on defense. He had 3 goals in the 5 games. Pretty awesome, as he was a defenseman. Keon also had 2 goals and led the squad with 5 points in the 5 games. It was Brian Glennie who didn't grab a whole lot of penalty minutes in the regular season, but he did have 25 in just the 5 games for the Leafs. Maybe he was the tough guy here, or he was getting some misconducts. I didn't look and see exactly what penalties he got, but that's a lot of penalty minutes for 5 games. Um, and McKenny, he also had 2 power play goals and a shorthanded goal. Jim Harrison, he had the lone game winner for the Leafs. In that, Perrant played very well for a losing team, as he had a 912 save percentage and a lone win for the Leafs. That's pretty good for a 1-4 team in the playoffs. They just needed more offense going in Toronto. They needed to get that clicking and becoming more consistent in Toronto. Now, for the Bruins, they had just two power play goals in this series in 5 games. That's not a lot. That was from Walton and Orr. They got the power play goals. So there you go. They're off into the semifinals now. So we bounce into the semifinals, and the Bruins are off to play the St. Louis Blues. That is who they played when they won their last Stanley Cup 2 years ago in 1970. Now, in the first round, the Blues played the Minnesota North Stars in what was likely a very hard fought series. It went the full 7 games. Two of them went to overtime, including the final game. That would have been excellent to watch and very memorable for Blues fans at the time that they were able to pull out a victory against them. It was Phil Roberto. He must have played great as he had 6 goals. 3 of them were on the power play and 5 assists for 11 points in the 7 games. He also had 29 penalty minutes. He's kind of doing everything out there. Gary Unger, actually, he also had 3 goals and 7 points, and he led the team with 31 penalty minutes. He wasn't afraid of the penalty box. Over his career, he had over 1,000 penalty minutes, but that is a lot for Gary Unger, 31 in just 7 games. In net, gone was Jacques Plante. He was in Toronto. Glenn Hall was also gone. I think he may have retired by now. It was Jacques Caron who had a 932 save percentage and all 4 wins in the series. He played great. So there are some different players playing in St. Louis now than there was the last time these two teams battled in the playoffs. Game one was at Boston Garden, of course, and the Bruins, they were ready. Fred Stanfield, he scored a hat trick, including a power play goal and added an assist. The Bruins won game one by a 6-1 score. Eddie Johnston had 25 saves for the win. Boy, oh boy, the Blues needed to rebound and quick here. They needed to play better hockey than that. Um, so in game two, it was Usyk who grabbed the hat trick this time, scoring 2 power play goals. He also added an assist. Eddie Westfall also had 2 goals, including the game winner and an assist as well. The Bruins punked the Blues by a 10-2 score. Huh, it's just 16-3 in 2 games. The Blues are just, things are just not working out for them in this series at all. Cheevers took the net in this game and had 31 saves for the win. It's not like the Bruins, when I was looking at the totals here, it's not like the Bruins had 60 shots. They scored on a third of the shots they put on the net. That is awful for the Blues. And I'm not sure if they were just really great high danger chances, or if it just, I don't know, the goaltending wasn't working, the defense wasn't working, what was going on there. But yeah, it's not like the Bruins totally outshot the Blues. So the Blues needed to regroup and put out a better performance on home ice. So they're going home now, down 2-0 in the series. So they turn to Peter McDuff in the net. Who is Peter McDuff, you ask? Well, he did play 10 games this season, and this was his actual rookie season. But they're turning to him. He was like the third stringer in St. Louis. Um, because they had Caron and also Ernie Wakely, I think. They turned to both those guys. Neither of them were getting it done, so they're turning to McDuff here. In the season, he also had an 889 save percentage and a 369 goals against as well. Not too shabby, I guess, for a rookie. But in game three, both John McKenzie and Walton, both of them had 2 goals apiece. Both of McKenzie's were on the power play, and the Bruins hammered the Blues 7-2. Oh boy. Johnston, he had 27 saves for the win, and the Bruins were up 3-0 in the series. And it is looking highly unlikely that the Blues are going to win 4 in a row, let alone maybe even one. Um, we're going to see what happens here. Game four for the Blues, they turned back to Jacques Caron, but Esposito scored 2 goals, including the power play game winner, and added added an assist. Busick had 2 goals as well, both on the power play. And the Bruins skated away with a 5-3 win. Cheevers had 33 saves to take the series, and that was a much tighter score for the Blues. They kind of needed to play like this all the time, and unfortunately didn't take till game 4 to get it done to play tighter with the Bruins like that. Trying to do this in my head. 3, 6, 8. Um, the Bruins outscored the Blues in this series 28-8. Not even close, and that's in just 4 games. So there you go. The Bruins also had 10 power play goals in the 4 games. Wow. That is more than 2 power play goals a game. Whoa, that's almost guarantee you're going to win scoring that many power play goals. So they've got 12 in just 9 games now. I understand one extreme and the other. They only had 2 against the Leafs, but then 10 against the Blues. But their power play is really kicking here. The offense is on fire and the goaltending is great. The Bruins are totally clicking and they're off to the Stanley Cup Finals. So we coast into the finals, and who are they playing? But the New York Rangers. Um, my assumption, it's not a far stretch by any means, but would be, there's 5 teams that are kind of the favorites here. You got the Bruins, the Rangers, Montreal, and Chicago. So sorry, that's 4, not 5. Um, but so it's no surprise the Rangers are in the finals. Good for them. After going so long and not really getting out of the first round of the playoffs. They did it last year, beating the Leafs, and now they won 2 series. Um, so in the opening series, they were able to eliminate the 1971 Stanley Cup champions, the Montreal Canadiens. It appeared to be a tight series with tight scores, but New York eliminated them in 6 games. Bill Fairbairn led the squad with 5 goals and 8 points. Walt Kachuk, he had 16 penalty minutes. And Eddie Jackman played well. He was a lone goalie in that series for the Rangers, but he had a 914 save percentage, so he played very well for the Rangers. In the second round, they were faced off against the Chicago Blackhawks. Boy, you would think that should be a great series. And indeed, the scores were tight until the final game. But the Rangers actually ended up sweeping Chicago in 4 straight and right out of the playoffs. Um, the Rangers were getting scoring from all over their team, but it was Rod Gilbert who stepped up in the series. He had 3 goals and 7 points. Bobby Russo and Vic Hadfield also had 7 points as well for the Rangers. Gary Doak led the squad with 12 penalty minutes. And this time, Gilles Villemure was used for 3 of the games. So Jackman was getting a little bit of time off here, getting them both ready for the finals. But Villemure had a 916 save percentage, and Jackman, he did play the 1 game, but his was 926 as well. So there you go. We're off to the final. So it's the 8-1 Boston Bruins against the 8-2 New York Rangers. Couple of powerhouses here in the 1972 playoffs. This should be good. So game 1 was at Boston Garden. Mentioned his name quite a bit in these playoffs, and Ken Hodge, he scored a hat trick, including a shorty, and the Bruins went on to win 6-5. Tight score there. Game 2 brought much more defense, and Villemure had 23 saves for the Rangers. It was Ken Hodge again. Boy, I keep mentioning him. He scored the power play game winner. Um, there you go. And the Bruins won that game. Johnson had 27 saves, and the Bruins are up 2-0, winning both games at home. And the Rangers, boy, they're gonna be going home. They're going to Madison Square Garden, but they got to bring their A game here. Got start making a series out of this here. So in Game 3, it was Brad Park. He scored 2 goals, and both were on the power play. And one of them as well was a game winner. And he also had 2 assists. Rod Gilbert also had 2 goals, one being on the power play, and he had an assist as well. And Jackman had 32 saves. The Rangers took it 5-2, putting themselves in the series here. And this would be the first time the Bruins had ever allowed that many goals in a game, 5, so far in the playoffs. It took 13 games. So for game 4, interesting, this is his number as well. Bobby Orr was involved in all of the goals. He had 2 goals, one on the power play, and he had an assist. Johnston had 21 saves, and the Bruins pull ahead with a 3-2 win. And that slams the Rangers back against the wall here, and they're down 3-1 in the series. And they're going to Boston. Things are looking good for Boston here. Um, so, yeah, game 5. The Rangers had to bring their A game, and the Bruins were up 2-1 going into the third. But Bobby Russo scored 2 goals, giving the Rangers a 3-2 win on the road. Excellent job there. He may have been the number one star, Russo, in this game. Uh, Villemure also played really well. He had 36 saves for the win as well. Um, so game 6 is back at Madison Square Garden. So that's good for the Rangers. They could win this. They tie this thing right back up again. But it was the Bruins who were going to bring their defense to the dance this time. Wayne Cashman scored 2 goals, including a power play goal. Cheevers made 33 saves, and the Bruins took game 6 by a 3-0 score and went on to win the 1972 Stanley Cup, raising it high above their heads again. After doing so just 2 years prior, but they're doing it again. And I haven't talked much about him. Yeah, for a few games I have, but it was Bobby Orr who won the Conn Smythe. He had a ton of points for the Bruins. He was the playoff MVP. Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Busick, and Hodge, they all led the club. They had 9 goals in 16 games, which is pretty good. Orr led the team. He had 19 assists, man. 19 assists in just 16 games. Espo and Orr, they both had 24 points as well in 16 games. Or, yeah, 16 games, wasn't it? 15 games. 15 games, sorry. They were 12-3. Um, whew, I love this. Hodge tied the team with goals with 9, but he also led the team with 62 penalty minutes. I didn't know Hodge was a big penalty man, but he was getting them in this playoff. Busick had 5 power play goals. Both Cheevers and Johnston, it was a 1-2 punch. They both had 6 wins, back and forth, played great. Cheevers had a 915 save percentage, 621 goals against, and 2 shutouts. Meanwhile, Johnston's numbers, they were even better. He had a 936 save percentage. He led the league with that, and had a 186 goals against average. Awesome stuff. And he also had a shutout as well. Yes. And they also had 18 power play goals in the 15 games. Yeah. Good thing is, for Leaf fans, only 2 of them were against the Leafs. But that's great. Just looking at that, the power play working, that seems to be an ingredient to winning the Stanley Cup. But anyways, that's it, the 1972 playoffs. So we're going to go into the next season here. Um, but I think my next video, I'm going to talk about this renegade league that's coming in around, the WHA. This next season is when they start. And they're going to be pulling guys from the NHL. Some very good players, some Hall of Fame players. So I'm going to talk about that in my next video, and that'll be interesting to see who went over there, and I'm going to talk about the teams that are over there and who coached them and everything like that. But anyway, so if you like the video, you can hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Definitely got more videos on here. Just keep planning on putting them on here for you guys. And if you want to comment on anything, you can do that as well. But until next time, and maybe next season they'll do it, go Leafs, go!